Hey guys, welcome to Indie Game Hustle. My name is Charles, and in this video, we're going to take a look at actually starting our menu for the game. And this is going to be the menu when you actually get right into the game, and you basically are going to be presented with start game, look at the settings, look at the credits, whatever, that sort of thing. So what we're going to do is head over to another scene. Of course, this is our last scene. And so what I'll do is go into Robot Boy folder, go down to World. I'm going to go into the menu, and I'm going to create a new scene here. And in this scene, what I'll do is do let's see here. I'll go to, where is scene? There it is, scene. And then we have new scene. I'm just going to rename it, and we'll just call it main menu. Okay, so main menu. Awesome. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and go into that scene, and here we go. So we have our base scene here, and I have a full tutorial. It's about 8 videos long that really talk about creating a main menu and a save load menu. And I'm not going to let this take 8 different videos to do it. My goal here is to try to do it all in one jump so that we can get moving to some other parts in terms of actually building out like a block out of our level and have our character jump around and start playing with some new mechanics and things like that. So here, what we're going to do is probably get this down to maybe 1 or 2 videos. And this one, of course, is just going to be us building out the canvas and everything and getting the buttons working. So first thing I'm going to do is in the hierarchy, I'm going to go ahead and go to game creator. I'm going to go down to UI, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on canvas. And once you do that, just go down where it says constant pixel size. We want to scale with screen size. I'm going to change this to 1920 by 1080. And that's going to be like the size of our screen there. And I want to go ahead and double click on that. I'm going to turn my gizmos on so that I can see the outline. And I'm going to select up here the rec tool so I can see that. All right, great. All right, so this is our screen. It's going to be our everything we got going on here. And the next thing I want to do is go ahead and add a panel here, a UI panel. And this UI panel is going to serve as our main panel for our UI. So in terms of our main menu. And we're going to have multiple panels representing that, okay? So panel, and then we're just going to say main menu. All right, and so within this panel, we're going to have buttons and headings and all that types of things. And we might even have some panels within these panels. So for instance, what I'm going to do is go into this panel. And before I even do that, I'm going to select this panel. And let's see here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to UI. And then I'm going to click on panel again. But I'm going to reduce this one down to the bottom like this. And this could be maybe our footer. So kind of like a website where you might have like a header and a footer. I'm just going to call this the footer. All right, cool. And then within this footer, we'll have some text and maybe some links or something like that. All right, so I'm going to click on main menu again. I'm going to create another panel here, and I'm going to resize this one. And this one is going to be our header. So I'm going to just go ahead and kind of maybe put it like this. And that'll be our header, where our title is going to be. Like so. Awesome. And then I'll do another panel here. And what I'll do is click on the UI, of course, panel, and then I'll bring this up here. And so what I was thinking is maybe doing something left aligned for our game menu here. So maybe like a left aligned menu where we have like our menu here. We have our title of our game here. And then over here, we can have like our character pose or some type of cool background. We haven't figured that out yet, but we're just basically here setting up just a base so that we have everything we need, right? Cool. So this right here is going to be called the menu, right? And inside this is going to be the buttons. Fair enough? Cool. All right. And then on top of that, we can go a little further and we can do a UI, and I can do like a raw image. And this will be our image for our, maybe might have a character image here or something like that. But for now, I'm going to delete it actually. And what I'm going to do is go to our main menu, our panel here. I'm going to change this color to solid, and I'm going to change it to black. Maybe something like this. I typically use that color all the time. And then inside of this footer, inside of the header, I'm going to add some text. So I'm going to go UI. I'm going to go to Text Mesh Pro in this case. Looks like I haven't installed the Text Mesh Pro yet. So it looks like I need to go ahead and do that. So go ahead and install Text Mesh Pro if you haven't already. And we'll just go ahead and let that load up. Cool. So now I have Text Mesh Pro installed. I don't think I need to install this. We'll come back to it if it gives us any issues. But I'm going to go ahead and install that. And let's go ahead and name this header. And header title, maybe. And I'll go ahead and increase the size as well to maybe something like 72 for now. Cool. We have our header title. And let's see here. We could do a subheader. So we could do another Text Mesh Pro item. I'm going to do a Control D, and I'm going to make this one smaller by almost half. So I'll do like 36 or something like that. And I'll bring it down. And what I'll do is I'll make sure it's centered as well as this one centered. And so now what we'll do is bring that up. I can expose this a little bit more. Cool. All right, so we have our header title. We have our subtitle as well. Let me go ahead and name it subtitle just to be clear. Subtitle, awesome. And so now we have our subtitle and our title. And then inside of the menu here, I want to go ahead and create a game object. Let's do an empty game object. And I'll call these, I think, buttons. Actually, I take that back. I won't do that. I'm going to go ahead and hit delete there. I'm going to go panel. I'm going to go to UI. And then I'm just going to go down to, where is the button? Button. But don't do Text Mesh Pro. Do standard button. And I'm going to go on the menu. I'm going to go to add component. And what I want to do is look for the, is it vertical group, layout group. And so what this is going to do is anything that's within this panel or within this space that it's added, anything basically a parent or a child of this object will be laid out in a particular vertical layout group. So for instance, if I add another button, by default, it's going to continue to do that without me having to move around individual buttons. So in our case, we only need about 3 or 4, maybe more. But for now, and as you see, I can't move the button. So to arrange the buttons properly, you would have to use the vertical layout group component here that's assigned to the menu panel. So what I'm going to do is go upper center. I can even do middle center. And so if I were to build out the button, as you can see, it's going to do that. Now, that doesn't mean you can't change the size of the button. So what I can do is increase the size of the button like so. And so now if I were to do that, as you can see, that seems a little bit more natural there. Now, before I even do that, what I might want to do is actually create a prefab of this. But for now, what I'll do is just go ahead and change this button by itself. So let's go ahead and change the text. I'll make the text about 36 or maybe 32. And we can just leave it called button for now. Cool. All right. All right, great. So that's looking great. I'm just going to hit play just so we can see what it looks like in our scene. All right, great. So that's kind of how big it looks. Now, in terms of the panel, I want to get rid of that background. So if you notice, let me hit play again. So maybe you didn't notice. But if you look here, that's because there's an image here, and it's not actually flush with the edge. So I'll go ahead and remove that image because we don't need an image for this main panel. So I'm going to get rid of this background image, and I'll just go ahead and name it none. There we go. Looks like we have a console error here, and it has something to do with substance. So I'll probably deal with that later. Hopefully we have no issues with that. All right, cool. All right, so now we should be good there. So now the question is, what are we going to do with this scene? So what I typically do is I'm going to create another panel, and the next panel would be something like maybe a credits or your settings or load game scene, right? That sort of thing. So before we do that, what I want to do is create a trigger, and I want this trigger, I'm going to add this trigger to, let's see here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go game creator trigger. And on this trigger, what I'll do is select this. Now on game start, what I want to do is make this panel, when the game starts, I want it to be in this location. So basically what I ultimately want to do is be able to move this out the way like so. And then when I hit play, I want it to immediately snap or be at the 000 position. But right now, as you can see, I moved it. So to alleviate that, we're going to create a trigger that does it for us. So I'm going to go trigger on start, add action. And I'm going to go down, I believe it's object, transform. We're going to go down to game object. So the target is game object. We're going to take the main menu, just like so. And where it says change, we're going to leave that. We're going to change position. I think we're going to leave it at that. Don't change. Change parent. Don't change parent. Let's leave it like this and see what happens. So the idea is on start, it needs to set it to this position. That's what we want. So let's see if that happens. So if I hit play, I want it to be here. I think that's what that will do. No. So let's see here. So what I want to do is change that. No, I don't want to change clear parent. I don't think that works the way I'm thinking. Change position local. I think it's the local position that I want, not the global. Let me go ahead and hit play and see what we get. All right, perfect. Yep, so that's what it was. So we basically have set this back to its position, even though we moved it out the way. And that's going to be super handy. So when we create another panel, we can simply start working on our panel here. And then when we're done working on the panel, we can reposition it somewhere else. All right, great. So what I'll do is go ahead and move this like here. So it's just right there. And that's pretty good. So there's other things we would probably want to do here. So for instance, let's go back to our panel and let me just go ahead and change this trigger and name it start positions, panel start positions, right? And we'll just leave that just like that. And so we'll always know we need to create our different triggers for that. So it'll be different actions. All right, cool. All right, and then for this action, maybe I'll just name this one main menu. And so we'll have different actions, and maybe we can put them all on here, maybe different triggers. I'm not sure if we need to go that route, but we'll see as we go. So I have the main menu here, and so the next thing I want to do is create another panel. And so this panel, I'm just going to duplicate this one. I'm going to move it above. And as you can see, it's probably on top of that one. So I'll just go ahead and do that. So cool. So we have everything set. So all I need to do now is kind of think about where I want other things. And for now, we don't have a whole lot going on. We just want some basics. So for this one, the header, I want to maybe move this header. And we don't need a subtitle, so we can get rid of the subtitle. And we have this header, so maybe I can change this to be a little smaller. Now, if you notice when I did this, that's because we need to anchor the header properly. So what I'll do is grab this text, and right now, if you see here in the inspector, it's set to middle center. So if I click this and select this top left corner here, I want it to be based there, okay? So now if I move it like here, for instance, and now we should be good. We shouldn't be able to change that, as you can see. All right, so what I'll do is go ahead and put this about right there. So that will be our header. And then in terms of our menu, since I'm thinking this can be, we have to rename this this menu. So we're gonna name this, let's call this the settings menu. Why not, right? We're not doing any settings or anything yet. It's gonna be a while down the line. But for now, we're gonna just go ahead and name it settings. Cool. All right, and then we can go ahead and actually go ahead and change this to settings menu, just like that. Keep it simple. And then in terms of our buttons, we can actually get rid of this, the buttons here. We don't need that. And then in terms of the vertical layout group, I'll go ahead and remove that component as well. Now inside of this, we can add something else. So I'm gonna go into here and I'm gonna add Text Mesh Pro. And what I'll do is just name this volume, like so, right? And I can call it music. And then the other one can be called something else. We do voice or sound effects or something like that. So I'll do a duplicate and then I'll do sound effects for this one. I'll just call it sound effects, something like that. And so now we have volume and sound effects, and then we'll just pop that out there. Let's go ahead and get this anchored properly as well. Do the same thing with this one as well. And I'll go ahead and move this over here and move this like this. Now this may not be our final, but we just want to get everything set up so where we know that this is kind of what we want to do, right? All right, cool. And then so I'll just go ahead and move this up because we might have other things like, I don't know, like resizing the screen maybe. Just depends on what we're able to do, right? All right, cool. So we have a settings menu, music volume, that sort of thing. And then even inside here, we can go even further. I can go UI, and then I can do like maybe like a slider or some type of scroll bar. Maybe a scroll bar. I don't know. We don't need to think about that just yet. But for now, we have the settings menu. Okay. All right, great. All right, so now we have our panel start position. And so what I'll do is, since this is going to do the same thing, what I want to do is now take this action and put settings here. And so now the settings will change its local position. And instead of it saying panel start positions, what I'm going to do is actually just rename it to be settings. It's a long name. It's descriptive enough, though. All right. And I'll change this to settings. All right. And this is probably done differently than I did in my tutorial for sure. But it's the same concept indeed. All right, so let's see here. We have our settings. I'm gonna do the main menu and rename it. Where is the trigger for that one? I don't think it's here. I think what I did is I just basically overdid it. So let me just go ahead and do a duplicate of this. And then what I'll do is change this to menu. Sorry about that. And then I'll go ahead and go back, change this to menu, main menu. And then in terms of the panel, I just need to drop the panel in there. So just like that. So now what I'm going to do is select the settings panel and move it out the way. All right. And so what do you think is going to happen now? Right? We have two triggers technically doing the same thing, right? All right. So I'm going to hit play. And whoever's on top is going to be seen. And I think the bottom is on top. So it would be the settings menu. Right, exactly. All right. So what I want to do is ideally, I'm going to go ahead and just deactivate the settings menu. So, right, make it inactive. And so now the main menu should show up. And it didn't. So let's see what happened here. Settings. Oops, I deactivated the wrong thing. I have to deactivate the actual panel right here, settings menu. Let me rename that actually so that it's consistent. All right, cool. So if I deactivate the settings menu like that and I hit play, then we have everything we need here. Cool. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go into the main menu and I'm just gonna go ahead and move this panel over like that because I don't want it right on the edge like so. And that looks good enough for now. And then if I look at the settings menu, and I'll turn that on and do the same thing here. Now, let's see. I could leave that to the edge because we're not going to have any text there. We just want the text there. All right, cool. All right, so far so good. All right. So another menu that we want to do is going to be we could probably do the load screen menu maybe. Let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the settings menu. I'm going to move it up and I'll go ahead and name it load menu. And I guess load game menu. All right, cool. All right, so we renamed it. I'm going to go ahead and just move it here while we work on it. All right, and then I'm going to rename this as well. So I'll just call it load. That's land. Load game. And then we're not going to have anything in here, though, because we don't have any load things just yet. We're just going to have a blank screen until we start talking about saving and loading games and stuff. But we're just going to have the menu ready. Cool. So the next thing we need to do is, of course, create another start position. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this up above, and then I'm going to duplicate settings. I'm going to rename this one to be load game start position. These names are terrible, I know, right? And then I'm going to go down to actions and rename the actions to be load game menu, right? And then here, I'm just going to change out the target, and the target is going to be the actual panel, just like so, right? And so it's going to set its position. Now, of course, since remember it's top, the bottom is going to be the one on top. So if I was to hit play, the load game should show itself to be on top. And let's see, do it. All right, good. And that's what we wanted. All right, great. And so now what I would do is turn the settings and the load game off, just like so, just like that. And so now just our main menu is here. All right, so what's another menu that would be pretty important? How about quit game? So we might need a quit game menu. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is duplicate load game menu and move that there. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And I'm going to turn the other one on too as well. Let me turn this one off. I want to move the load game out the way. So I'm going to put load game like here, right? Because just need it out the way. All right. So now this one is here. Hope you're following along there. All right. So I'm going to name this one quit, right? So we're going to do quit game. And let's see here. And eventually what's going to happen is we're just going to have a couple buttons that basically say, do you want to quit the game? Like, do you want to quit game? Yes or no, that type of thing. And let's see here. And I'm thinking not only are we going to have a quit game menu. So for instance, if you hit the button quit game, it should bring this menu, and then it should basically say, are you sure you want to quit? And then it'll say like yes or no. So what I'm thinking is I like it sometimes when these things are centered when it comes to quit game stuff. So I think I'll center this. Right. And I'll go ahead and do that just like that. And I'll go ahead and turn these on just so I can see everything. All right, cool. So quit game. And then in the quit game one, I'm going to go ahead and rename this before we forget. So quit game menu. And then in terms of that, we got the text. That's fine. I think I want some additional text inside the quit game menu. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to UI and I'm going to do Text Mesh Pro for this one. And then I'm going to say, are you sure are you sure? Yes or no, maybe something like that. And I'll bring it up, make it a little bigger. And it's a question. And we might change this, but for now, that's how it's going to look. Great. Are you sure? And maybe it'll be a little smaller. I don't know, like 42 or something. All right, cool. Quit game. Are you sure? And then we can do a couple buttons. So we can go, we're going to do some standard buttons. And I'm thinking what we should do for the buttons is I'll do a panel for the buttons. And you don't have to do panels. This is just a personal choice. Sometimes you can control things like this. Like I just typically do stuff like that. So are you sure? And so with this, I'm going to do a horizontal layout group. And then inside here, I want to add a couple buttons. All right, cool. And then so now you see the buttons at the top left. So I want to go to the panel that I put that on. And I want to go ahead and do middle center right there. All right. And then I'm going to change the size of this button to be, I don't know, something like this. And then I'll duplicate the button here after I change the size of the text. And I'll go to maybe 36, 32. Yeah, something like that. And this one would be yes. And then the next one would be no. All right, cool. All right, cool. And so they have some distance between them. So to avoid that, I can probably do one or two things. I can probably just change the size of the panel that it's in. So that's probably the way I should go about it, because there's really no need for it to be that wide. And right now this panel is set to stretch. I want it to be set to center, or maybe top, maybe center. And let's see here. Are you sure? I'm going to select that. It's sent to center, leave that one. And then this is set to stretch, put that to center. And then the quit game, I want that to be set to center of this. So basically, remember, these objects are anchored to the parent that it's in. So quit game is going to be centered to this object. And then this object is going to be, its center is going to be based on the overall panel that it's in. And the same thing with these objects. So cool. So we got our quit game there, and let's go back to that quick game menu. And so now we need to create another trigger for that one. And I'm just going to go ahead and name that quick game. And it's just a start position, of course. And here I will go change the name of this. And then, of course, I need to change where this is going. So it says load game. So what I'm going to do is change this to quit game. And so now quit game should also move into place. Great. So now what I'll do is just move this one here. Of course, we have this one here. And so now quit game is there. So it's at the very bottom. If I hit play, quit game should show up on top of the rest. Great. Perfect. And that's what we want. And then, of course, the buttons don't do anything yet because we have not created anything for it to do. And that's okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off load game, main menu, settings. Is there anything else that we want to accomplish here other than make it look better? Now, we'll make it look better once we're in the polish phase, but right now we want to work on the functional side of things. So I'm going to hit play. I think, did I make them? I didn't turn them off, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and change the inspector just like that. And so now these are currently set inactive. We have our main menu here. And if I hit play, of course, the header one will be here. So the idea behind this now is there's going to be buttons here. We're going to have a start game. We're going to have I believe, a load game. We're going to have a settings. We're going to have a quit, right? And a credits. Forgot about credits. We got to give credits, right, to the maker of your game, right? You have to put the credits in. So maybe I'll make another menu for that, another screen for that. But the idea is when you click a button, what do you think is going to happen, right? We're going to deactivate one, so set inactive one, and then we're going to turn on the other. That's the idea. All right. And so the way it would work if I were to not have any code yet. So if I go to scene and I turned off maximize so I can show you what I mean. So I'm going to move this to the side and hopefully this works. All right. So we have this here. I'm going to hit play. Okay. So basically we're going to use Game Creator to we have this here. And so when someone hits this button, this main menu is going to go poop, and then we're going to go settings, and it's going to go poop, just like that. And then when they get out of this, we're going to go poop, and then it's going to go poop, just like that. And so basically, you can never go from settings to load or quit. It's always settings, back, main menu, load, back, main menu, quit, back, main menu, right? And so that's how we're going to do that. So that's the logic that we're going to have set up. Okay. All right. So we're going to do one more menu screen. This menu screen is going to be credits because we always want to give credit where credit is due. All right. So we're going to do a Control D to copy the quit game menu, and it's over here. So I typically just go ahead and move it here. And all I want to do is rename it to credits. And then I'll go title header, text, and we'll change this to credits. And what else do we have? Are we sure? So we don't need that here, but instead of are you sure, we can say IGH or, like assets, I don't know, whatever credit you want to give. So you can say development by, IGH or whatever. So whatever your name is, right? Studio name. For now, we don't know what we want to do yet. So, all right, cool. So that's what we can do. And then in terms of this panel, we do not need this panel yet, but I'm going to delete it because this is just a credits page. Because ideally, we're going to still need another button. We're going to need probably like a back button on pretty much every page here. And I didn't put one yet, and mainly just because I don't know where I want to put it yet. So we'll think about that in the next video when we start actually making everything work. So we have our credits here. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and change. I think we're good there. So what I will do is go ahead and set up the panel. So I'm going to duplicate this one and call it settings menu. So settings, I'm sorry, credits. And so I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'll go down to actions and I will pull this into there. So we know that that's good there and that's good there. Awesome. So if I hit play, I'm going to make sure credits should be there. Awesome. Credits is good. All right. Good. We're looking good, guys. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and select my credits menu and move it out the way as well. All right, cool. So far, so good. So what do you guys think? Is this good for you? Do you like this workflow? I think what this is really doing is just making sure that we, just making sure that we have all the scenes that we need, or at least in this case, all the panels and everything is moving and working the way we want it to. Now, there was something I just thought about. Now, you see how we have a footer in each area. We could have, the same footer in each one. And the cool thing about that is that we can probably use a prefab to do that, right? Because the footer is not going to change from scene to scene, not typically. But right now I'll leave it the way it is because maybe the footer will change. Maybe we'll have some additional information in the footer from page to page, and that could be useful. So, but we'll consider that later. All right, so cool. All right, well, that's it for this video. In the next video, we're just going to simply get these guys working and connecting and hopefully just go ahead and get it connected to a scene. So then once we get to that scene, we can actually use the prefabs that we created with our player and our game manager and all those different things and put those in the scene and make it all kind of click, right? Cool. All right, great. Well, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks, bye. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. To stay up to date on the latest 3D platforming tutorial, feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support, you can find me on Patreon, or of course you can hit me up on Discord. I like to talk about whatever project you guys are working on. Of course, thanks for hanging with me. Your support is always appreciated. As always, remember, never give up and keep moving forward. Peace.